A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome back after this long gap of Holi. I hope it's audible and visible also. Let us start with today's session, and today we are going to start with election and representation, a very important topic with reference to prelims examination, that is election and representation. If you talk about this topic, you will see that on a regular basis, questions are being asked from this section, and we will start from the very same manner as we have been doing with reference to all other issues and themes associated with this year's prelims examination. There are certain points which we need to understand with reference to this topic, election and representation. This topic has been in news in the recent past due to various reasons. The first thing is, on a regular basis, we have been seeing this phenomena of election in India. So, if you talk about this structure of democracy, democracy in India means indirect or representative democracy, and the process of choosing these representatives is known as election. So, we have been seeing this phenomena of election in India almost every time. Some elections end, then again some election starts. Again some election ends and then it starts, and this cycle goes on. Like we will soon have elections in Karnataka, then in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and then general elections. So, this process, this cycle will go on with the passage of time. Pranam Saurav. Again, if you talk about this, we have to understand some more aspects associated with this whole phenomena of election. If you ask your grandparents that what is democracy, they would simply say election is democracy. So, we have attached this concept of election with the concept of democracy, and various people are of the view, I hope you guys understand this relationship also, various people are of the view that election is equal to democracy. Can we say this? Or can we say this democracy is equal to election in today's world? You have to understand this relationship, this relation very clearly. Now, if you move forward, then let us at first see the questions, and we will see some additional dimensions associated with that also. So, the first question, consider the following statements. According to the Constitution of India, a person who is eligible to vote can be made a minister in a state for 6 months even if she is not a member of that state. Second statement, according to the Representation of People Act 1951, a person convicted of a criminal offence and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years is permanently disqualified from contesting an election even after his release from the prison. Now, the point is, if you talk about this statement, you will see the use of this statement at various levels, and you can expect something associated with this also. If you see, you have to understand that according to the Constitution of India, a person who is eligible to vote, if you talk about this concept of eligible to vote, then what is the eligibility to vote? We have to understand that dimension. We also need to understand that what is the eligibility to be made a minister, and what are the differences between these two. Again, if you move forward to this section, then we have to also understand the system of election. What is this various constitutional amendment associated with this, and what are the other qualifications which we need to have. If you move to the second, obviously the statement is incorrect. If you move to the second statement, it specifies, according to the Representation of People Act 1951, a person convicted of a criminal offence and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years is permanently disqualified from contesting an election even after his release from prison. The point is, we have to understand this structure very clearly, that this Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951. Whenever you see any news associated with this RPA 1950 and 1951, just go through the provisions, and you will see that questions are being asked from this section again and again in examination. That is why this section becomes very much important. But here also the main point is permanently disqualified. So, both the statements are incorrect. I hope you guys can get to the answer also. Let's see the second statement. Consider the following statements. In the first Lok Sabha, the single largest party in the opposition was the Swatantrata Party. In the Lok Sabha, a leader of the opposition was recognized for the first time in 1969. Third statement. In the Lok Sabha, if a party does not have a minimum of 75 members, its leader cannot be recognized as the leader of the opposition. Now, if you are able to eliminate this third statement, automatically the answer will be achieved. The third statement specifies about this leader of opposition, and the structure of leader of opposition. A very important topic, because we have to relate this concept with Election Commission of India also, and recently Supreme Court came up with a judgment with reference to Election Commission of India and the process of appointment of Election Commission of India. So we have to understand that dimension also associated with this. Now, if you go through this question, then the third statement becomes incorrect, which automatically gives the answer. But apart from that, if the question has been asked by UPSC, then we have to understand that very clearly. Swatantrata Party. If you talk about this, in the first general elections, Congress obviously secured the majority. Apart from Congress, we also need to understand that it was the Independents and Communist Party who were as the largest party in opposition. It was not the Swatantrata Party. So, first statement is also incorrect. Let's move to the next question. For election to the Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by. Again, with reference to qualification, what qualifications are required in this system of election? So, for election to the Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by anyone residing in India, a resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested, any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency, and any citizen of India. Now, the point is, who can file a nomination paper? Not only in Lok Sabha, we also need to understand. Now, see, here we have seen a question with reference to Lok Sabha. Next time, we can see a question with reference to Rajya Sabha also. So, when you are reading this section, relate it with Rajya Sabha also. Relate it with other constituents like president, like vice president, and you will get a question in examination. So this is how we have to relate these concepts. For election to Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by anyone whose name appears in the electoral roll, or any resident of India, or a resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested, or any citizen of India, or anyone residing in India. Obviously, first statement is incorrect. There is no doubt with that. This statement also becomes incorrect. There is some sort of dispute between these two. That is, a resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested, and any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency. But the point is, we also need to understand the other dimensions associated with this concept. If you talk about other dimensions, just try to relate this concept with reference to reserved constituencies. What happens in the case of reserved constituencies? Do you think that in a reserved category, anyone can file the elections? Or if you come more into this system, then we also need to understand that what will happen if a scheduled tribe fights elections in a reserved seat, but not from the place where they, not from the constituency from where they belong. Is it possible that a scheduled tribe from Andaman and Nicobar can fight elections in Madhya Pradesh? What are the conditions associated with this? We have to see from this very dimension. Let's move forward. Consider the following statements asked in UPSC 2017. In the election for Lok Sabha or State Assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled to be declared elected. A very important line. Just try to understand this concept. According to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the Speaker's post goes to the majority party and the Deputy Speakers to the opposition. Now, the point is, if you see this question, just try to understand this line. Now, this process of counting the votes is very much important, because you can expect a question. We may soon see this increase in number of seats in parliament also. If we see increase in number of seats in parliament, through which method this number is to be increased? Again, in the recent election results of Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat, just see what happened. Two political parties, that is BJP and Congress. The vote difference between these two were of 0.9%, but the seat difference was somewhere around 20%. So, having this vote difference of 0.9% only, but having seat difference of 20%, how is it possible? We have to understand that dimension. This is only possible because in India, we use this system of first past the post system. In the elections of Lok Sabha as well as State Legislative Assembly. So what is the process associated with this? We have to understand this dimension very clearly. Now read the statement again. In the election for Lok Sabha or State Assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled to be declared elected. Now if you talk about this 50%, this doesn't happen in first past the post system. In this, the only thing which matters is the candidate who secures maximum votes, that candidate will be winner. If you talk about the second statement, then the second statement is also correct, because it is talking about these provisions laid down in the constitution. It is not specified in the constitution, but we follow this very provision, and that too happened after the 10th Lok Sabha, not before that. Let's see another question. We have 2-3 more questions. A very simple question. Right to vote and to be elected in India is which type of right? Is it a fundamental right, or a natural right, or a constitutional right, or a legal right? A highly disputed question among the faculties and the related people of UPSC. So if you talk about this, obviously it is not a fundamental right and neither a natural right, but it is a constitutional right. And you have to understand this dimension very clearly, that this is the structure of just suppose rights, natural rights. In this natural rights, we have this concept of legal rights. In this concept of legal rights, we have the concept of constitutional rights. And in this concept of constitutional rights, we have the concept of fundamental rights. This is how this cycle is shown. So we have something as natural rights. Under that natural rights, we have the concept of legal rights. Under this legal rights, we have the concept of constitutional rights, and under this constitutional rights, we have the concept of fundamental rights. So this right to vote comes somewhere here under the system of constitutional rights. C. Now, one last question. Consider the following statements. The Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. Correct, hopefully. Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general elections and by-elections. Third statement. Election Commission resolves the disputes relating to splits, mergers of recognized political parties. Now, a very interesting question. But again, you have to understand certain structures associated with this. Just try to understand how this structure of Election Commission of India evolved with the passage of time. You can find the answer of this whole question under Article 324 of Indian Constitution, which specifies that there should be an Election Commission of India and there can be other commissioners also. So, Constitution has not specified that what will be the number of Election Commission of India. There is no such provision as a 5-member body. From independence till 1989, October 1989, it was a single-member body. In October 1989, it became a multi-member body. And again in 1990, from 1st January 1990, it became a single-member body. The main reason behind making it a multi-member body was because of this decrease in voting age from 21 to 18 through 61st Constitutional Amendment. So, through this process, due to this reason, this Election Commission of India for the first time became a multi-member body, and it became a body consisting of 3 members. Again, in 1990, it became a single-member body. However, from 1993 till now, it is a multi-member body. But it is not a 5-member body. There is no such provision. So, first statement is automatically incorrect. If you move forward and see the second statement, Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general elections and by-elections. Now, again, if you talk about this statement of Union Ministry of Home Affairs, then it is not the Union Ministry of Home Affairs, it is the Election Commission of India. That is the primary function of Election Commission of India. So, this second statement is also incorrect. Obviously, the answer would be 3 only, that is D. Now the point is, if you talk about this system of election, there are certain dimensions which we need to understand with reference to this system of election. We have been seeing questions in examination on a regular basis. So if you talk about this system of election, I would like to specify certain basic aspects which we need to understand with reference to this, and which becomes important with reference to this year's prelims examination. The first thing is, we have to understand this structure of political parties. Political parties. How many political parties are there in India with reference to recognition? So if you talk about this structure of political parties, you have to understand two different dimensions. That is this concept of national party and this concept of state party. Recently, this concept of national party was also in news due to Aam Aadmi Party becoming the 9th political party to have this recognition of a national party. Now, when any political party becomes this national party, we have seen such questions also in examination. So, when any political party becomes national party, we have to see what are the qualifications. Again, apart from these qualifications, we also need to see that how many political parties in India are national parties. So, name of the political parties also. Name of political parties. Just try to relate this concept. You will see that there can be a question from this section. Again, if you talk about these political parties, then not only at the national level, just go through the structure at the state level also. There can also be a question with reference to recognition of a political party as a state party. What are the conditions for being recognized as a state party? I hope you guys know the name of the political parties, all these 9 political parties which are national parties. Again, if you talk about this election and representation, then we have to see some more dimensions associated with this. Dimensions in the sense, we also need to see this structure of this Election Commission of India, how the elections are conducted in India. If you talk about this, we have to see this structure also. If you talk about this structure, then it means that at the top level we have this Election Commission of India, which consists of CEC and ECs. We also have this concept of regional commissioners, and below this regional commissioners, we have a hierarchy of a structure with reference to elections. Are they the staffs of Election Commission of India? How they are appointed? Either it will be the chief electoral officer, electoral officer, or it will be the district election officer, or it will be the polling officer, presiding officer, whatever the structure is, who appoints these structures and what are their authorities. So we have to see this whole structure of Election Commission also. Again, without this Election Commission of India, this whole structure of election will be incomplete. Just see how this Election Commission of India is appointed, what are the recent issues associated with this, what was the suggestions given by Supreme Court, and how that structure will be implemented. Will we be able to assure the independence and accountability of Election Commission of India through these changes? Again, we have to see that how votes are being counted in India. Can we change this system, that is the system of proportional representation and first past the post system? Can we have some hybrid model? Is it a possibility in India to have some hybrid model? Again, if you move forward to this whole system of election and representation, we have to understand the relationship between election and democracy. How this concept of election and democracy is related. Again, if you move forward to the system of election, we have to understand the issues which are there in news. So, whatever news comes with reference to Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951, we have to see these news also. We have to understand that how these news are important from the point of view of examination. No need to go through it as a lawyer. No need to go through it as a constitutional expert. You just need to see this from the point of view of general studies. Again, if you move forward to this whole section of election and representation, then we also need to understand this process of qualification and disqualification. And when we talk about this concept of disqualification, then anti-defection law automatically comes into structure. Anti-defection, other qualifications and disqualifications. So if you talk about this, we have to see this whole structure associated with election and representation. This concept of political parties, that is national and state, is very much important. Just see what are the qualifications for being recognized as a national party and what is the name of all these 9 political parties which is recognized as a national party. If there's any doubt from whatever we have covered, please let me know. This is what I wanted to convey in this session of election and representation. Please go through these things. These things becomes important from the point of view of this year's prelims examination. One more concept you can add this concept into this whole structure is this concept of delimitation commission. It was in news. Delimitation commission. So we have to see this structure of delimitation commission also, which was in news associated with this. Now just see what are the who are the members of this delimitation commission. Just see that what happens to the reports of this delimitation commission, and just see that who constitutes this delimitation commission, how this delimitation commission helps this election commission of India. This is how we have to understand this whole structure. Election Commission of India being an all India body, but it doesn't conduct elections with reference to local government. For this local government, we have a separate structure which is State Election Commission. State Election Commission. This is all we have for the day. If there's any doubt, please let me know. Anushtan, yeah, it's a constitutional right. Satyam, D is answer. D, B, C, Sudhir. Okay. Anything else, please let me know. Otherwise, this is all we have for the day. This topic is very much important. Expect some questions from this section in this year's prelims examination also. Satyam, which one to repeat, dear? Right to vote. Okay. Let us have a view over this right to vote again. If you talk about this, Satyam, then this right to vote and contest and to be elected in India is a constitutional right, which you can see in Article 326 of Indian Constitution. So, if you talk about this whole structure, it becomes a constitutional right. However, if you see this whole structure of rights and issues, you have to understand one thing very clearly, that we have this structure which will constitute all the natural rights. But in this concept of natural rights, all the rights are not legally acceptable. So, under this, we have this structure of this legal rights. So, all the natural rights are not the legal rights, but all the legal rights automatically becomes the natural rights. Under this legal rights, you will find that you will have this constitutional right also. So, all the constitutional rights will obviously have the legality also. And under this constitutional rights, you will find this fundamental rights. So, whenever any question is being asked in examination, and if you are able to pinpoint the exact box, go for the exact box. Had there been no option of constitutional right, I would have gone for this legal right. So, go for the exact option. Whenever you are finding any question like this, just see which option suits it best. So, if there was no option of constitutional right, I would have gone for legal right. And always relate this concept with reference to whatever you are seeing in examination. Is it clear now, Satyam? So, the answer was constitutional right with reference to this question. Chalo. Anything else, please let me know. Thank you. We will meet again on Monday and see some more themes associated with this. Hopefully on Monday we will meet again and we will see some more themes associated with, we can start with fundamental rights, we can see DPSPs, fundamental duties, and all these themes in the same manner. Till then, everybody take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.